Dear friends of the media, welcome to today's Chief Executive press conference. He's going to review his work in the last 10 years. So Chief Executive Mr. Fernando Chui and also the Director of the Chief Executive Office, Ms. Ho Lam, are present here. So just now, our Chief Executive has just reported the 2019 policy address. So at today's press conference, he is going to review his work in the last 10 years, and then you receive questions from the media. Dear friends from the media, good afternoon. Just now, at the full meeting of the Legislative Assembly, I reviewed the work of the government in 2019. We're also going to compile a book that reviews all the work that sum up our work in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, we have inherited, we have innovated, we have persisted, and we have tolerated. At this preference, I'm not going to get into too much details, especially want to talk about the core value that we have been adhering to. From the perspective of governance and from the perspective of principle, in the last 10 years, we have firmly believed that adhering and implementing one country, two systems is an absolutely correct path for the Macau SAR. As you all know that in 1999, when Macau returned to the motherland, I started serving at the Macau SAR government. I was Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture for 10 years, and then I feel honored to have served as the Chief Executive of Macau SAR in the last 10 years. In the last 20 years, I have been growing with Macau SAR government. I have, together with the Macau community, experienced all kinds of challenges and opportunities. And especially as the Chief Executive in the last 10 years, I have persisted in inheriting and implementing and innovating. I firmly believe that I have been serving my nation, I've been serving our community. I believe that we should always put people first. We believe that one country, two systems, Macau people rule Macau, high degree of autonomy. These are the foundation of Macau. One country is the precondition, the prerequisite of implementing two systems. So adhering strictly to the base to our Constitution of People's Republic of China and Macau Basic Law is very important. Our implementation in the last 10 years, it can further prove that one country is the principle, making use of two systems advantages, and that is why Macau SAR government has been constantly improving and marching forward. Macau SAR is a small city, is a part, is a special administrative region of our vast country, is inseparable from our country. Now, how we managed to get today's harmony and stability, we can see that it's all because of the advantage that our nation has bestowed on us, which is one country and systems, so that we can get support from our nation. We can get all the favorable treatment and incentives and measures from our nation. We benefit from our country's improvement and all kinds of opportunities it has brought us. We have been inspired. We will continue to make good use of Macau's unique advantages to expand our horizon to adequately diversify Macau's economy. From the perspective of implementing our policy, improving our economy, improving people's livelihood has been the core of our governance in the last 10 years. Our development and is the social for our development, social stability is the foundation. So we'll continue to do our best to maintain social stability, develop our economy, and improve people's livelihood. We have been doing our very best to maintain social stability, public order, building harmonious society, and also put effort into maintaining national security. Due to economic development, we have accumulated financial resources, so we can implement projects to improve people's livelihood, to set up social security system, housing, healthcare, education, and cultivating talents, and also prevent disaster prevention and all these long-term mechanisms. we are going to work on further on long-term mechanism to improve financial reserve and also land reserve. These two types of reserves are very important and very important for further improving the regime of Macau SAR, and that is going to further support Macau's overall development in the future. In the long run, a country's construction and development takes a long time to implement. It's a constant as well as constantly evolving process. The construction of a nation, development of a region needs the government guidance and also concerted effort from the community. In the last 10 years, as one period of time in our long road of building Macau, we experienced natural disaster, and the natural disaster we experienced make us even more united. We treasure the stability and prosperity that we have. The natural disaster also make us realize that Macau as a coastal city, we do not have natural barrier, and the infrastructure that we currently have is not enough to resist, to protect us against extreme weather. So therefore, we have started constructing infrastructure to prevention of natural disaster, to protect our residents. To construct and develop a region takes generations. So we have worked out long-term mechanism. The 5 secretaries of the Macau SAR government put concerted effort into cultivating a new generation and inherit and carry forward our core value, which is love our nation, love Macau. Our ultimate goal is to make Macau a better place so that all the Macau people can live happily. Of course, in a road of development, we would have ups and downs. And even if we work very hard due to various reasons, we still have shortcomings, with even delay in completion of tasks. We must continue to work. We must not go slack. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all circles in the community and all the residents of Macau for their opinions and suggestions and criticism. I believe that all of us all have good intention and hope that the government will do better and better. We have to remember that what we have achieved does not come easily. We need to treasure it. We need to safeguard it so that we can put our concerted effort together to build a better tomorrow. At the same time, I would like to thank all the government officials, all the civil servants, members of the executive committee, and all the organizations and consultative organizations for what you have contributed. I also, very importantly, I would like to thank the media for what you have contributed, for the concern that you have given to the government, for your very fair and objective and balanced report, so that we can constantly improve ourselves. Thank you. As today we have lots of members from the media, so in order to make sure that everyone got a chance to answer question, we want to, I would like to actually only ask one question. Honorable Chief Executive, I am Wang Wei-chi from TVB. Mr. Chief Executive, when you first assumed office, you said that you will promote sunshine government. Now it's been 10 years. Do you think you have fully implemented this sunshine government from 1 to 100 points? How many points would you give to yourself in implementing sunshine government? Sunshine government, clean government is a very important focus of our government. We hope that our government is transparent, is clean, is fair. And it ought to be a bilateral relationship, as a two-way relationship and an adequate communication channel, so that we can always hear opinions from all circles of life, from the Macau public. As for scores, I give to yourself, to be honest, there will be two kinds of scores, and one will be scores from the Macau public. The other one will be what I would say history. History is going to give the score to me. Eventually, the assessment is done by the Macau public and history. It's not for myself. It's not up to me to give myself a score. I have to say that in the last 10 years, my team, we have accumulated lots of experience. Of course, there are shortcomings, and we will review and hope that we would learn from our lessons so that the SAR government will continue to improve. Mr. Chief Executive, I am from TDM. I'm Wang Hiufeng. As we are all concerned about where you are going to go, where you will go after you complete your term of office. Has the central government given you any hint? Do you think that you will get promoted further in your political career? I would like to tell you about my experience. I started working in Macau in 1984. I joined the Macau SAR government in 1999. I have served the Macau SAR government for 20 years, and I am going to complete my term of office on the 19th of December 2019. I think this 20 years, I gained lots of experience. I've been given lots of opportunities to serve our nation, to serve Macau. I feel grateful for the opportunity. And also I feel grateful for my privilege of working with my team. As for where I will go, I can't give you an answer now, to be honest. From Macau Daily. Just now, Mr. Chief Executive said that by the end of November, we will reopen application for home ownership scheme. Can you give us more details? Do you have a schedule? Do you have a timetable? And before the home ownership scheme has been revised, do we need to get the amendment of the law approved? I think I will answer the first question. And actually, starting the application for home ownership scheme this year, at the end of this month, is not going to affect the law amendment. I think we'll ask the Government Information Bureau to give you details about the progress of our social housing and home ownership scheme, so that they will get all the details. Now, of course, that includes, say, the development area region, Taipa, Mong Ha, Toi San, and also Kotai, and altogether around 2,000 units. Here I cannot give you too much details. We don't have time. I think I better give you the document, and that will be released to the Macau public. Yes, it is true that home ownership scheme reopened for application at end of November. That is for sure. Mr. Chief Executive, I'm from Hong Kong Daily. If you review your governance in the last 10 years for improving people's livelihood, do you think for social housing development, do you think you have met the need of the public? And what do you expect of the next government? For social housing, for public housing, I think whether it's this term of government or the previous government, we have done our very best. And just now, as I reported at the Legislative Assembly, I confirmed that we will put social housing first and then supplemented by home ownership scheme. I reported to you our financial situation and also our land reserve, especially in Zone A. We are going to build 28,000 units. At Ganwu, we will have another 6,000 units. Then, of course, now is not the time for me to, it's not the revenue for me to release all the figures to you. To a certain extent, we have met the need of the Macau public. But one question is, what exactly is the need? What is the real need of the Macau public? After the effort over the years, I'm very happy to report to you whether it's for land reserve or what is being planned to build, and also land and also our financial reserve, we will be able to meet the need of the Macau public. Our social housing, our public housing will be able to meet the need of the Macau public. Maybe I feel that the scheme had not been implemented fast enough. However, I believe eventually we will meet, in the near future, we will meet the need of the Macau public. And as for what I expect, or my expectation of the next government, I give my heartfelt congratulations to Mr. Ho Yat-sen, having been elected as the next chief executive. And soon he is going to release the name list of the main officials, principal officials. And I give my very best to their governance. And I am confident that under leadership of Mr. Ho Yat-sen, they will inherit at the same time. They will consolidate what we have gained, and march forward to a brighter future. Mr. Chief Executive, since you assumed office, you have mentioned the construction of several long-term mechanisms. How would you review your progress? And how about the financial allocation? And we don't seem to have seen much progress. So does it mean that this long-term mechanism will be implemented by the next government? And that is the financial surplus reallocation. We had already announced just now, and we have already gained consensus that next year the wealth partaking scheme will continue. Also, most of the welfare will continue. So this how we are going to distribute financial surplus, we have already announced. Today, we also have compiled. We have also released a book summing up our achievement in the last 10 years. So you can find all the details there. We also reviewed our 5-year plan. We completed about 90% of our projects. I think if we can give a long-term solution to the housing issue, I think I'm very confident with that. And then, of course, what we need to step up with is disaster prevention. I'm from TDM Portuguese, TDM Radio Portuguese. My question is, as the chief executive in the last 10 years, what are the projects that you wanted to accomplish, but you haven't completed, or you wish you had done? And just now, our colleagues also ask, what do you want to do? And what kind of plan you are going to make for yourself so that you can continue to serve Macau? Thank you very much for your question. I think, first of all, even after I completed my term of office as chief executive of Macau, I will continue to care about my nation and Macau. If I have the opportunity, I would like to continue to serve our nation and serve Macau. And there are some of the issues that I wasn't able to resolve, and these are historical issues. No work is 100%. And some of the work need longer period of time to complete. It's just now some of the friends from media who talk about the housing issue. And now we have gained more land reserve. We have sufficient financial resources. And so that I believe that we'll be able to accomplish our plan. And also the infrastructure projects like transport projects. And now, as you understand that disaster prevention and also that this kind of infrastructure takes time to complete. So healthcare, we are developing hardware and as well as recruiting professionals. All these need more effort and time to accomplish. Mr. Chief Executive, I am from Macau Satellite TV. You mentioned quite a lot of infrastructure projects that include land reclamation, that include light rail projects. These all started after you assume office. Some is continued from the last term of office. Still, there are some infrastructure projects, including land reclamation, public housing, and light rail. They are all to be completed this year, and some are not completely accomplished. So why there has been delay in implementing these infrastructure projects? Because in the community there were voices saying that the government hadn't done well enough in implementing these infrastructure projects. So what exactly are the difficulties and challenges the government has faced? I think every project, if it hadn't been completed on time, there must have been problems. I am happy to report to you that light rail will officially start operation in December. As to the challenges include legal procedure, and also lots of other various issues. At least now, when it comes to social housing and home ownership scheme, I am quite pleased with the progress. We have completed the legal framework. And for renovating urban districts, we also have completed the legislation. Where there have been delays and we need to review. And every single case has got its own unique issues. As for monitoring mechanism, sometimes due to the legal procedure, and sometimes due to workflow, sometimes due to actual operation or administration, and they all led to delay. We need to review that. This year actually is the last year of this term of office of government, so we have tried to accelerate the process. And the Secretary for Transport and Public Work also have done lots of work. Then, of course, we have lots of lessons to learn. And I hope that in the future, this kind of issues would not emerge as frequently. From Lotus Satellite TV. In the last 10 years, you have presented campaign platform and policy address. Which project are you most satisfied with, and which project are you the least satisfied with? I think it comes to overall governance. I am not going to comment on what I'm satisfied with. I think maybe if you look at public opinions and surveys, that's better. They can give better information. Public housing, light rail, healthcare. These are the areas I hope will be improved in the future because they have to do with the Macau public's well-being. There have been delays in some of the projects. I very much hope that we can accelerate to catch up. When it comes to shortcomings or strengths, it's very difficult for us to give an adequate review. I think I should leave that to the Macau public. I'm from Shanghai Yaobao. The Macau SA government has attached great importance to the Greater Bay region development, and lots of work and effort has been put into it. And how to bring Macau's advantage into full play so that Macau can contribute to our nation's strategic plan. And how about the development of Hengqin Island? What do you expect of the next term of government? The Greater Bay Region Development Plan. I think Macau as one of the 4 core cities in the Greater Bay. How are we going to integrate ourselves into the Greater Bay, and how is the Greater Bay development going to include Macau? These are very important issues. And actually, after the first meeting, it's been over 40 projects have been identified that will have to do with Macau. And I myself think that there are several aspects we need to pay special attention to. And first, that's the legal system. Second is further understanding, mutual understanding. At the same time, we also need to be fully prepared to integrate ourselves into the Greater Bay. And we ought to understand that there are different types of professionals in the Greater Bay Area, and how are we going to attract them to Macau. So it's not just about, it should be a two-way thing. Not just we enter the Greater Bay. Greater Bay is also going to enter Macau. So these are the issues that we need to pay attention to in the future. The other thing is, how are we going to encourage our young people to learn and also to adapt themselves into future development, to adapt themselves to the development of the Greater Bay, because the Greater Bay Area is different from Macau in various aspects, including the legal system. So we need to put effort into cultivating the younger generation so that they are fully prepared to become part of this strategic plan, to become part of the Greater Bay development, so that they will have more opportunities. They will expand the horizon in the Greater Bay. Good afternoon. I'm from Macau Business. My question is, in the last 10 years, do you have any moment that you felt especially difficult and memorable? Thank you very much for your question. I think what I felt especially difficult, I think, is when Macau encountered difficulty, challenges. For example, natural disaster. When we experienced Typhoon Hato, it's a kind of typhoon that we hadn't experienced for 50 years. It's not something that we hadn't seen. However, we've also seen the unity in the Macau community. And of course, the government has got very heavy responsibility to bear. So we need to develop infrastructure and measures to prevent for natural disaster prevention. I think there are 3 points we need to remember. First, the support we get from the central government. Second is the concerted effort from the Macau community when we experience difficulty. Third, the government, all the units of the government come together to try to control the damage. I'm from London Media. In the last 10 years, as a chief executive, there are two bills, and the both have been withdrawn due to objection from the community. Do you think that's been what your biggest regret as chief executive for 10 years? I wouldn't see that is regret. In the last 10 years, we have brought the function of consultation into full play. We like to listen to opinions from the Macau public. We have never been invasive with criticism. Of course, we welcome encouragement. However, we never been invasive when it comes to criticism. So these two bills, I think, good question that you ask. We thought, say, these two bills, when we submitted, we thought we needed it. However, after consulting opinions from the public, I think also here at the press conference, they say we have the SAR government has a bottom line that we didn't want to divide the community. So that is why we decided. That is why the Legislative Assembly decided to withdraw the bill, because we did not want to divide the community. There were voices that support the bill. There were also voices that did not support the bill. So we thought that was not a good time to submit and pass the bill. That is why we decided to withdraw. As for the 60 billion financial allocation, again, we had press conference here where we announced that. That's because we listened to different voices. Then we decided that there are two things that we need to continue to do. For one thing is to continue to explain the Macau public. The other thing, we need to solicit opinions from the public. So again, we propose to the Legislative Assembly to withdraw the proposal. So these two issues, the withdrawing the two bills, I do not see that as regret. My governance in the last 10 years, what I've learned is it's very important to listen to public opinions, to listen to the people. When the people do not completely understand, I think for a responsible government, it's very important to listen to the people, listen to public opinions. So I think public opinions need to be respected. We need to be objective. That is what I've learned. The other example I want to give, that is revision of the amendment of the transport law. I say why the penalty, parking tickets and so on, why the penalties gone up, say for parking ticket and so on. And that has got to do with the lack of parking spaces. So those who got parking tickets feel that they are paying more fines. And we held consultation sessions, and I think the result is quite good. So the government had seen what the public needs, and for the safety of the Macau public, I think the consultation sessions that we held related to the transport system, and these are very, I think that's very good experience for us. And the other infrastructure that we have, that's the cemetery, and we decided that cemetery does not have to be linked to information. So I think respecting public opinion is very important, and that's what we have learned in the last 10 years.
João dos Dores Macau. Obrigado. João dos Dores Macau.
Thank you. I'm from Zhejiang, Macau. In the last 10 years, what do you think of the impression you have left with the Macau public? And just now, I already answered several times this similar question, and it's not up to myself to judge my own performance. I think it's up to the survey as conducted by various research institutes. And I'm happy to report to you that the survey that we've done recently, results from surveys all indicate that the Macau public are basically satisfied with us. And of course, there are improvements to be made. However, overall, we feel grateful that we have gained support of the Macau public. I'm from TDM. In the last 10 years, did you have any policy that you feel especially proud of? Or is there any policy that you regret? As for the new hospital, it's still not completed. So do you think that the construction can be completed within your term of office? First of all, the hospital is started in the 4th season of this year. We've already started the tendering procedure, so of course it's not going to be completed during my term of office. As for any policy I feel proud of, no, nothing I dare to say proud of. Well, I'm pleased with education. We have attached great importance to cultivating young people. It is for elementary education, for tertiary education, and lifelong education. We have put effort into promoting all these. I'm pleased to see that over 90% of our young people, our school leaver, can receive tertiary education. That's very important for Macau. So now, for children and young people in Macau, no education, they will not be deterred, they will not be hindered, the financial situation, their background will not stop them from getting more education. I think in Macau, equality in education has been very close to being achieved. I think in Macau, young people got lots of opportunity to complete tertiary education. As today I reported the PISA report, Macau has been, when it comes to elementary education quality, fairness, Macau is ranked very high. We will continue to promote elementary education and tertiary education. As you can see that now we are constructing smart city, technology. All these need support from research, from tertiary education, from talents. When it comes to tertiary education, we can see that Macau's higher education is getting more and more internationalized and getting closer and closer to world-class university. In terms of research, Macau's university also is gaining more visibility. I hope we'll continue to put effort into and invest in education. So after generations, we will gain result. I think we've already gained some foundation. Yeah, we will still put education as priority. From TDM Radio, Mr. Chief Executive, I'd like to ask you, the next year's, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, sorry. It's all right. Just now you talk about the budget for next year, and some of them are for the well-being and welfare of Macau people. Some items you didn't really mention. For example, a subsidy for senior citizens. So what's the arrangement you have made with the next chief executive? And the other thing about reopening application for home ownership scheme. Do you need to, so how about the regulation to follow? Well, for the reopening for the current application that is going to reopen by the end of this month, is going to adhere, will follow the current regulations, the current laws. For those welfare, they continue. The Secretary for Economy and Finance will present it in his session in the Legislative Assembly. And all those items you mentioned, yes, they are included. So don't worry. Maybe when I read, yes, they were there. Yes, we always care about senior citizens, and all this welfare continue. From Lekpo, could you tell us something about your personal plan after you complete your office? As I said just now, I returned to Macau and start working here in 1984. And before 1999, I was in the private sector, and also I took part in some community work. I served the Macau SAR government for 20 years. The most importantly, after I complete my term of office, and that's I need to adhere to relevant regulations that the former chief executive, chief executive needs to adhere to. And well, of course, I would like to take a break. And of course, all those laws that stipulates the cool down period for chief executive, yeah, I will adhere to. I'm also from TDM. Mr. Chief Executive, in the last 10 years, for example, as Macau implemented one country, two system, is there anything related to implementing one country, two system? Is there any challenging bit that Macau cannot adhere to or cannot implement? Thank you very much for your question. Just now at the Legislative Assembly, I talk about this implementation of one country, two system. Macau people rule Macau and high degree of autonomy. During this process, I also explained the relationship, the concept of one country, two system. We have been adhering to one country, two system, this principle. And we also have adhered to the policy of Macau people rule Macau and high degree of autonomy. I think we have successfully and satisfactorily implemented that. I have never encountered any problem implementing one country, two system as during my term of office. Good afternoon. I'm João Carlos from Pont Macau. We always talk about diversifying Macau's economy. However, as we can see, it's been 10 years. The gaming industry is still the flagship industry. Do you think, is there anything we can do to further diversify Macau's economy? What improvement can be made? Thank you very much for your question. To adequately diversify Macau's economy is a very important direction of our work. And that is for the sake of sustainable development. Because when one single sector dominates, the risk go up. If you look at the last 20 years, especially after Macau liberalized the gaming industry. The gaming industry, we cannot deny that it takes up a very large proportion of Macau's revenue. However, if we look at the overall plan for regional development, there are two aspects of our work. For the time being, there are 6 gaming concessionaires, and they are all resorts, integrated resorts, as we say, IR. We want to enhance the proportion of non-gaming elements. We hope non-gaming elements will increase because they themselves, non-gaming elements, diversifies integrated resorts. It also can help diversify Macau's economy because they will bring, for example, performance, food and beverage, entertainment, and so on. At the same time, we also promoted other sectors, for example, finance with characteristics, MICE industry, and Chinese medicine. Why we especially want to talk about this? The ultimate goal is to enhance the proportion of the non-gaming elements. If you look at my experience in the last 20 years, I believe for a significant period of time, the gaming industry continued to be the main industry in Macau. We still need to make effort over a long period of time, significant period of time, before we can change that. The other point is with the support from the central government and the regional development, I hope we will gradually change the situation when gaming industry completely dominates Macau's economy. The central government has given us lots of opportunities to become part of a nation's development. Besides, the Greater Bay Area, it also includes other collaborations, for example, the Yangtze River development and so on. The Belt Road Initiative will also include Macau. The Greater Bay Area, Macau has been the strategic plan. Macau has been identified as one of the 4 core cities in the region. So these are all to integrate Macau into the overall development of our nation. So all these eventually will accelerate our diversifying Macau's economy. But the reality is, for the time being, the gaming industry is still the dominant industry in Macau. I'm João. I'm from the Portuguese news agency. I'm from Luso news agency. Light rail and Taipa. So is there a date for official operation? Because soon we are going to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Macau SAR. I would like to ask, we already know who is going to be the chief of the head of the Portuguese delegation, and can you confirm whether President Xi is coming to our celebration? Thank you very much. The light rail system, the information that I have, I believe it will come to operation by the 19th of December. As for the Portuguese and the central government's delegation, at the moment I cannot release that information. Dear Mr. Chief Executive, my question is about the system for current chief executive, former chief executive, and chief executive-elect. What are the regulations? You said before you complete your term of office, you will reactivate the implementation of the bill. And now there's only 1 month left for your term of office. So do you have any intention to promote the implementation of the bill? And why is that? Is it because concerning protection security for principal officials and chief executive, more needs to be done? I think you all care about the bill that you mentioned before. At that time, there had been discussion and consultation sessions, and there had been voices in the community that object. So because we did not want to divide the community, we decided to withdraw the bill. So whatever issues that would lead to division, we withdraw. And maybe at the time what I said the main goal was we did not want to divide the community. We might reopen the consultation and discussion in the future. Maybe I don't have good memory. I can't remember that I actually said I was to complete that legislation, to put forward the bill within my term of office. No. So when is going to be the right time to reopen discussion and consultation in the future concerning principal official and chief executive, current executive, former chief executives, subsidy and compensation? I have no plan. And then if you have something to tell Mr. Chief Executive, if you are to tell the next government, if you have some experience to share, something to tell them, what would you tell them? Well, I would not say that I'm there to pass on anything to them, but what I will say, I'll teach them anything. What I can say, maybe I can share something with them, and that is the core of Macau is love our nation. Love Macau. These are the core values. And I think the Macau community has become even more united. In the past, not that I say that in the past Macau is not united, Macau community is not united. However, and now after the establishment of Macau SAR, we have entered a new era. So the core value of love our nation, love Macau has been strengthened. So I think this core value, we need to pass it on and consolidate from one generation to another generation, to the next generation. We need to love our nation. We need to love your own region. Then you can do something. If you do not love the region, the nation you belong to, there isn't anything you can contribute to. And also, I think this core value has maintained the stability of the region, which is the basis of development. Whether we listen to, I think, for love Macau, love our nation, and that is the foundation. So we all start. So whatever criticism or support or encouragement, they all come from this core value. So I think if we have the same goal, if we have this common core value, whatever we do, we will succeed. So I think this core value should be passed on to our subsequent generation. And the other thing is that what is more important, I think, education. And education will still be our focus. Thank you very much for coming to this press conference. I would like to give thanks to our chief executive. Dear press, dear friends from the media, thank you very much for coming here. So here, please allow me to thank you all for all the encouragement and criticism you have given me. Thank you very much as I review my work in the last 10 years.